We're gonna go ahead and get started. So, hi everybody, my name is Kristen B. Welcome to In Session. I'm your host, and today we're gonna be talking about building the right team around your music. So I'm joined by an amazing panelist of women who are parts of various industries and various parts of the music industry. So we're super grateful to have you here with us. We're gonna be chatting about strategies for people to build their teams. How do you find the right manager, ensuring you're working with the right producer or lawyer? So we'll go through those steps that artists need to take and to keep in mind when they're building their team. So I'm joined right now by Erin Jacobson, Esther Calloway, Jury Junai from Emergency Tiara, Heidi Klotzman, Dr. Linnell Plummer, and Carolyn Malachi. Thank you all so much for being here with us. And Esther, let's start with you. Can you tell us your preferred gender pronouns and a bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so she, her. I'm out of Dallas. I'm super excited to be here. I have the benefit of being a booking agent with my own company, Calloway Management, and then also being a team member at So Far Sounds. Officially, I was the city director for Dallas, and I'm super excited to just be here and be on this amazing panel with all these beautiful women. So thank you so much, Kristen, for inviting me.
Most definitely super grateful to have you with us. Next, I'll just go based on my screen, Jury.
Hi, my name is Jerry. I am the lead singer, songwriter, and the brand creator of Emergency Tiara. Thank you so much for having me. I perform at Sofa Sound all over the world, and it's one of my favorite communities. And I'm so honored to be here with all the beautiful, talented ladies. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you for joining us, Jury. Dr. Linnell Plummer.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm so excited to be here. I am Dr. Linnell Plummer. I am the CEO of Onyx Therapy Group, which is a mental health company based in DC, but all over the US. And so excited to be here to talk about how mental health plays a role in the team that you choose and how who you choose will affect you and it'll affect your craft. It'll affect the work you're able to do and the way you engage with the audience as well. And so, what's the mental health behind selecting your team? Let's talk about that.
Love that. Super important component that we must not forget. Thank you for being here. Next on the list is Carolyn Malachi.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Malachi. I'm from Washington, D.C. Pronouns are she, her. And I am an educator. I'm a professor at Howard University. I'm also a sound engineer. I mix records, and I'm a Grammy-nominated artist. Glad to be here.
Love that. Yes, and yes. And that mic, man. Yes, love it. All right, next is Heidi.
Hi, I'm Heidi Klotzman from Hide and Seek Entertainment. And I started the company when I was a Goucher in college in 2005. And basically since then, I've been promoting events and businesses and curating private influencer events for brands, booking live music and DJ talent for special events and hospitality venues, and helping artists reach a broader an audience by redirecting my network to them. So, and I'm so glad to be here, and everyone is so accomplished and sweet, and I can tell already. So, and all these awards and everything everyone has going on, I'm very excited for everyone and happy for you. So thank you for having me, Kristen.
Of course. Thank you for joining us. I'm grateful to be in community with all of you amazing powerhouse women. So next on the list is Erin.
Hi, I'm Erin Jacobson. I'm a music attorney on the transactional side, which means I just handle contracts and negotiations. I don't go to court and sue people. So I represent songwriters, composers, music publishers, artists, independent labels, managers, producers, etc. Basically, if it's a music contract, that's what I do. Although I especially emphasize publishing, licensing, catalog acquisitions, and copyright terminations. And I work a lot with legacy catalogs as well.
Love that. Definitely necessary. Thank you for being here with us. And last but not least, Janice, thanks for joining us. Can you share a bit about yourself and your preferred gender pronouns? I think you might still be muted.
Okay, I'm so sorry, y'all. I don't use Zoom, so like I've had the hardest time getting it set up. But I'm Janice. I'm a artist. I sing R&B pop music. I'm here in Detroit. I'm from Detroit. And I go by she and her.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you all for shedding a bit of light with us about what you do. Super grateful again to have you all with us. I'm going to say that so often throughout this webinar. But thank you all for being here. What an amazing, amazing lineup. Super excited to chat with you all. So before we jump into the meat of the discussion, just a bit of housekeeping. Tips for Zoom. So when you guys are in the chat, make sure that you change that little blue button from panelists to panelists and attendees so that everybody can see, you know, what's going on. Everyone can chat with each other. We also want to make sure that this is a supportive space, uplifting space. So be sure to keep that in mind as we're in the chat. And be as respectful as possible in there. Also, if you have any questions during the webinar, please use the Q&A function at the bottom as well. Feel free to submit your questions that way so that it doesn't get lost in the chat, and we will cover those questions at the end, the last 15 minutes. So you also will receive a survey at the end to let us know any additional topics you want us to cover and how you felt about this particular webinar. So without further ado, thank you so much for being here, and we're gonna get started. So the first question, and feel free to jump in if you have any responses. Why build a team? If I'm an artist, why should I even build a team around me? What are some of those benefits? And we can probably maybe start off with one of the artists. Yeah, definitely, Janice.
So one thing that I've learned throughout this journey, and I've been doing this since teenager, straight out of high school, as far as becoming a full-time artist. One thing that I really learned is that a team is very important. You need people who are going to believe in you, but who aren't going to be yes men. You need people who are going to sharpen you and make you better. I've dealt with so many situations with people that I've, brought on as a team member, and they didn't really have my best interest at heart, or maybe they just didn't simply understand exactly what I needed, tailored to me as, the artist that I am. And so some of the things that you need with your team, like I said, are people who are not yes men, people who will tell you the truth. The truth is very important because sometimes, people just want to be around to be around, but you need people who are going to tell you the truth, people who are educated and who are constantly learning more and researching. I'm actually still having a hard time finding perfect marketing team or people who are just willing to really help when it comes to marketing and branding. That's something, that's really important, especially in the industry that we work in today, with just, having that certain thing that when they visit your social media, when they hear your music, they know it's you, you need to have that identity. So I think that those are things that are very important. And, just having those people that can know you and know what you need as an artist and, be able to function tailored to you. So, yeah.
I like to tap in as well. So one of the things that I find wonderful about artists is the creativity, right? The ability to flow, the ability to see the world around you and create something beautiful out of that, right? That touches yourself and touches others. But what we also know is that the best way to do that is when you feel safe and when you feel comfortable. And so that means that you have to have a team around you that's going to be able to let you be focused on your art, to let you be focused on your creativity, and they can handle the other things. So the team is important for you to be able to continue to do your passion and your purpose and let them handle some of the other things. Of course, an artist is the CEO of their team, though, right? Like they're the ones who are selecting their team. They're the ones who's looking to see if they can connect well, if they have the same communication styles, if they have the same views around respect, if they have the same ways that they attach with each other, right? Especially because artists are spending so much time with their team, especially when they're on the road. So it is this balancing act between being a CEO and managing your team and selecting your team, as well as being the technical person, the creative, the artist behind it. So I think there's a lot of mental health element that ties into how you select your team, the criteria that you use to select your team, how to discern between who's good for you and who's not just on how educated they are or what their reputation is, but are they good for you? And so there's a criteria that needs to be used with that. Of course, I'm going to also advocate for every team having a mental health clinician on staff too, right? Because there's so much pressure in being an artist. But I think that there's a huge element of mental health behind selecting your team as well for that safety piece, so you can continue to be the creative that you were designed to be and to fulfill the purpose of why you're here.
Totally. I love that. And I think that like each profession, go ahead, Erin, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, no, that's okay.
Sure.
No, I think those were all great points. And just from my perspective, being on the business side, what my role is to come in and bring a skill that, you know, not everybody on the artist team will be trained in, which is skilled in law and contracts. And so what my job really is a protector of my client, of the artist, to make sure that they're not signing something that is going to be detrimental to their career, to their rights, make sure that they're going to be getting paid fairly for their work or in the deal. So it's part of why you need a team is to bring in these people with other skill sets that are going to help you, because as an artist, you're just one person. You can't do everything and be creating and touring and all those different things. So it's really kind of fitting the puzzle pieces together with those different skill sets. But even so, I mean, I definitely agree with choosing your team members carefully, making sure that they're the right fit for you, that you feel that you can trust them. Because, you know, like was said earlier, you know, some people just want to be there to be there, right? So, and you do have to discern that. But even with a great team, you know, it's still your career, so you have to still have eyes on everything. And educate yourself and know what is going on with your own business. Because there's a lot of situations that I've seen where artists just go, oh, well, this person's handling it. And then later something happens and they're like, well, I didn't know, nobody told me that. So it can still be detrimental, which is why, you know, I try and educate all of my clients, and I do webinars like this and whatnot, so that people are informed about what the information actually is. They can understand when their team members are talking to them about royalties, or they can make sure, you know, talk to somebody on their team. Did you get this done? It's important that you know, our works are registered or whatever it is. So, I mean, that's why, like, I just wrote a book called Don't Get Screwed, How to Protect Yourself as an Independent Musician. And it goes over like all these basic things, because it's just so important for independent artists to understand these concepts and be able to have those conversations with the team, and have it be a really collaborative experience.
Definitely love that. And I think, Drew, you also had something you wanted to say. Oh, and Carolyn.
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to add to all the amazing things the lady said, that I, as an immigrant international artist, having a team who is really supportive really lifted the limitation of my language barrier, cultural barrier, and again, writing and singing in the second language is a whole another beast. But again, having a team really make it possible and expand your possibility of your creativity, and it's amazing.
Absolutely. It's important to understand what services of your team members cost, so that you can budget. And it's also important to identify what your business structure is going to be, because maybe you're not paying an honorarium. When I started out and I got to the point where I needed a team, I needed some help, I had to be very clear with people there is no budget. This is an eat what you kill situation. So if you bring in a contract and it, this is the gross, I can give you 15%. So just having those very clear conversations up front, even though they're uncomfortable, they're necessary. They're absolutely necessary.
I love that. That brings,
Sorry, Kristen. I just wanted to add that even when, specifically from a booking agent standpoint, it's really important that as a member of a team that I really can, appreciate the artist and what they present in the creative space. And so, it's hard to, help try to book an artist that I'm not necessarily passionate about. And so I think that it's really important as well to be able to identify what role, even from the support standpoint, that each member of your team plays. Again, if you're looking to get an agent, if you're looking to get someone that's going to help promote, then it's really important that they actually like your music. It's really important that they're a fan. It's important that they like you as a person, because if they don't have that connection, then it's very rare that they're going to do their best or go above and beyond, specifically from the booking side, to put you in spaces that you won't normally be exposed to. So for me, being a part of a team is really important that I'm a fan of that artist as well.
I love that. You both bring up really great points that actually funnel into other questions that we have throughout the webinar. So perfect segue. For artists, a lot of independent artists don't have a huge budget. So Carolyn, you gave some amazing alternatives, with one just being upfront and transparent about where you are. But do any of you all have any additional recommendations if an artist just doesn't have a budget right now? How can they add someone from your profession to their team with that in mind?
May I? Sure. Okay. Zoom is new to me also. I'm like, so what's great about booking is commission for artists. So when someone comes to me and I believe in them, and I have access to all these different venues and projects and well, before COVID, but a little bit now, but not as much. I can just plug them in. And when I plug them in, there's no upfront cost to them. It's just a portion taken out of the sum when the event is completed. So that's a great way to get yourself out there, is to get someone who's plugged in to believe in you and to put you on their roster and to advocate for you at those spaces. So you'll be generating more attention. I've done this in the past where people have gotten press, TV, et cetera, from different performances. And whereas you can really champion. I think that's on a team, like Esther was saying, you can really champion. That's what you need, is a champion that is dedicated and resourceful. So they're not going anywhere, and they have a lot at their disposal and their arsenal to put to work for you. So yeah, that's why I think a team is so important, so that you can delegate like any other business. We're not all good at everything. Some of us are only good at one thing. Some of us, we're learning and we're different degrees of good at different things, but we're human and trying. I think that's important too, the trial and error. When you talk about the mental health of the artist, it's also the mental health of everyone else. Everyone is a person, and we're all going through things, and we're not perfect, and we're going to say the wrong thing, and we're going to do the wrong thing. We're going to make the wrong projection once in a while. As wise as we can be, as much as we've read, as much as we've tried and cared, for others, there's going to be errors. So I think it's important to regroup, after that. And yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That resonates. You do definitely want to know at the core of who you're working with, and what everybody else needs, because it impacts the cohesive collective. So definitely important. And I love the fact that, it isn't necessarily all based on upfront money.
Yeah.
So love that portion. Dr. Plummer, you had something you wanted?
Yeah, absolutely. I think even the topic around how do you compensate your team is an emotional decision as well, right? Like, we like to think that it's all just based off of the logic behind it, just the dollars and the cents, but sometimes we have a lot of emotions connected to money, right? Like, I feel really great when I have this money and I could compensate someone really well, or, you're working for this money, so you need to be working harder for me, right? And it's all these elements that connect with that. When it comes specifically to having a mental health person on your team, you have to decide, how do you want them on your team? Do you want them to be your direct clinician, where they're working with you through some of your thoughts and your concerns and your issues? Or do you want them to be serving as a consultant for you, right? In terms of how to navigate the team dynamic, and how to choose the right places for you to be. So there's two different ways that there's multiple ways that mental health people could be influential on a team, on an artist team. But first you have to decide how you want to do that. So in terms of the compensation, if one is looking for a mental health person to be their direct counselor, there's lots of ways to negotiate that, right? There's one, insurance, if that's an option. There's sliding scales. There's associations like musical associations that are willing to compensate for some of that, because again, they want their artists to be clear, so that they can be creative, right? And so there's all these ways that you can compensate for those direct mental health services. When it comes to the consultation piece, I think it's the same thing that Heidi talked about before, in that Heidi and Carolyn, in that you could make a different type of agreement, right? So this is what I can pay you for this particular service. This is what I could pay you after I get paid. Or would you just be willing to do this? Surprisingly, many clinicians are willing to do a lot of pro bono work. Tying into what Esther said, if they believe in you and they believe in the mission and they believe in what you're putting out to the community and how that in itself will help somebody in terms of their emotional health, they'll go ahead and help you, right? Like, they're not even gonna to charge a lot, or maybe not charge anything at all. But the first thing is to decide, how do you want that mental health person to serve in your life? Is it as your direct clinician, or is it as a consultant, as you're navigating the team dynamics and navigating being out on the road and all the things that come with being an artist?
I love that. Super important information. And also, Erin, specifically, with all of these kind of Googleable, like, contract form kind of options that are out there, is there kind of a workaround for artists who may not be able to pay like the premium for having a lawyer on staff, but there's like is there a middle ground for artists that are kind of trying to figure that out?
So there are some options, but you have to be careful with what you're doing, because a lot of what's on the internet is bad. Let me just first say, people have been talking a lot about commissions, and that's all true, and that works well, especially for artists that are starting out without a budget. But typically the booking agents, the managers, maybe some other professionals will be on commission. The lawyers generally are not, unless you're making a certain amount at that point. So at that point, maybe they're on a percent, but most of the time they're going to be hourly. There might be retainers, which is an advance payment of fees. So that is something that if an artist does need legal assistance, they might want to think about saving up for that, and like working that into the budget. For artists that really have very limited budgets, there are some options. So, I saw this need in the industry because I had a lot of people, that would call that just couldn't afford the services. So I started a website called Indie Artist Resource, which is where you can buy templates, contract templates that are the most needed templates needed for independent musicians. Because I saw that there was this group of artists that needed help that didn't have access to that assistance just because they couldn't pay really high lawyer fees to have things drafted specifically for them. There are other templates out there on the internet, but again, I would say be careful, because I've seen a lot of really bad ones. So therefore, I can only speak for the ones that I've put out there, because I know the quality of them, but I've seen people that have come to me to ask me to review a template that they found online, and I'm like, this isn't even like the right contract. contract, or like it has this clause in it or this paragraph in it that's like totally not in your favor. You don't want to give this to somebody else, but because they didn't have the training and contracts, they didn't know, don't include that paragraph, or this isn't the right kind of contract that you need for this situation. If you need to be like one-on-one with someone and there's just really no budget, I guess it would be like by city, sometimes by state, sometimes there's like pro bono kind of legal clinic type situations. So I know like California has one. So you can kind of check around in your city or your state. Sometimes even colleges or law schools would have those types of programs as well, where it's students working on it for you to get experience, but they're supervised by a professor. So those could be, other options as well for people that don't really have a budget. But again, going back to my original point also is that, educate yourself. There is, again, if you're really not working with the budget, like you can get a library card, they're free. And, check out books on the music business at the library and read those, and, and educate yourself as much as possible to try and, bridge that gap a little bit. But, there are ways, and then you'll grow, and, and then you'll be able to like bring in more team members and more services and everything. So, so yeah, it's good. But I think I did want to actually mention also, there was a point that Esther had made earlier about being really passionate about who she's working with. And I think the thing to remember also with the team is that your team needs to be there for you. And a lot of times, especially, I see this all the time with like a lot of the bigger artists and whatnot, the team's kind of there, and it's like the team, they all work with the same kind of people, and they're there kind of for themselves oftentimes, or maybe somebody's ego is getting in the way. And I just, I thought that was just a great point, that, really we all need to be working for the same goal. We're all here for the career of the artist. And so whether you're paying somebody, you're not paying somebody, like whatever, whatever the situation is everybody needs to be there for the same goal, or it's just not worthwhile.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I just wanted to piggyback a little bit on what Erin was saying, for specifically again for the agent side, because we deal with a lot of contracts with sending, the booking contract over to whoever is booking the artist. Like if even if you don't necessarily have a lot of cash at hand or financial resources, I would definitely like set aside money to at least hire an attorney to create like a blueprint of contracts for you, like your booking contract or, licensing contract, just because that is going to be something that you're utilizing throughout your career. And so to start off, making sure that you're covered, just like Erin said, like even the site that she quoted, I'm definitely going to be using that, Erin. That's like a great resource for artists. But like hire an attorney, even if it's just upfront, to make sure that all of your paperwork is in line, so that then you won't necessarily have to be as concerned about that, because you have a legally binding agreement that has been reviewed by a trusted attorney, and that that at least you're covered in that sense. But again, like even if you don't necessarily have money, there are certain things that you have to invest in, and I definitely believe that like having an attorney on your team, or at least making sure that they have that paperwork approved before you start sending it out for any bookings, is important.
Yeah, and even if you don't know exactly what you need to invest in, like what agreements do I need, like I have a lot of people that will just book like a half-hour or 1-hour consultation with me to just ask me questions and say, okay, I'm starting, what do I need to do, what agreements do I need? And just even that has a lot of value, just to kind of like put a plan in place for you, so that way you can know, okay, I need to do this, and this is what it's going to cost. That way, you have the expectation set, you can save up for it if you need to, again, whatever your personal situation is, but at least you have like a game plan going forward.
Amazing. I love that. And I think it like kind of directly ties into as artists are trying to build their team, a lot of artists start out with their friends, people who are in their circle that they already know, kind of rock with their music, or they enjoy being around. So for artists that are going that route, do you have any recommendations on like what they should look for within those friends to fill these certain roles, or kind of like how they should go about that?
So I actually am working with a lot of my friends right now. And it kind of started off a few years ago. We kind of got together and we were just making music. There was no, major talk about a company or anything like that. We were just making music together, believing in each other, sharpening each other, and making each other better. And from there grew the company that I am a part of now, Creators Row. And we've had 3 studio locations. Our last studio before the one that I'm currently in, it burned down. We were renting from the place. But now we have our own building. We're renovating. We're almost finished. I'd say that, if they're your friends, make sure that, they can, differentiate the difference between friendship and business, because at the end of the day, when it comes time to take care of the business, they need to be able to do that. And I'm lucky and blessed to have those people that are like that around me. I'm still an independent artist, and it's hard, especially when, like, we were talking about the funding and everything. But of course, like Carolyn was saying, being upfront about, your budget and everything like that. And a lot of times, you'll run into people who are like-minded and who actually want to do it as well, just for, the believing in it. And, eventually that pays off. And that's something that I can say that's been my story. I had people, even my band, they came on, and I had a 4-piece band, and I didn't have a budget. I had people who were my managers at the time who may, have backed me with money here or there. But, having that conversation of, hey guys, we're cool. I have this show coming up. Can y'all play for me? Scratching each other's back. That's a thing too. I've learned, just simply, I give you something, you give me something. Like, let's work together. So those are things that I would say. And, when you have friends, like I said, just making sure that they believe in it just as much as you do. And they, know that this is business at the end of the day. We're going to do it and be friends and have fun together. We're going to handle the business together. And I think once those things congeal, everything else works smoothly. You're going to have times where relationships get in the way, people have pride or whatever personal issues, but having those people that can separate the two is very, very important. We work every day in the studio. I'm actually currently working on my album. So we've been working every day, and you get distracted, people start laughing, talking, joking, and things like that. But, people who can respect your craft, who can respect your artistry, and know that at the end of the day, this is going to feed us. This is, what's going to help us to get better and grow. So just taking it seriously and having fun at the same time.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Plummer.
I think I feel like I'm always second, right? I'm always like, ooh, and I got something to say too. But I have some elements around that too. So I think when one is working with their friends, they're starting off with their friends, they have to make sure that their friend can also be a business-minded person. Sometimes our friends are just people that we kiki with and that we vent with, right? Sometimes they're just the person that we like let our hair down with and we're just chilling with, and they're good at that. They're the person that lets us be light, let us be easy, the person who understands our soul, right? Which is a little bit different than how you move and work in your professional world, right? Like, it'd be nice if it could all be one system, but it doesn't always work that way. So can your friend or your family member navigate between the two different roles, right? Can they switch back and forth as you need to switch back and forth? And I think some ways that you can distinguish between that is this person a person who could be artist focused? I think somebody before brought up, the team has to be able to support the artist. Can they be focused on you, or will they have a blockage, right? So are they artist focused or are they ego focused? Because if they're ego focused, they're about themselves and what they're doing and how what their work is complimenting you, or can they just be artist focused and focus on the outcome there? Do you guys have complementary work ethics? Not work style, because everybody's style is different, but are y'all both hard workers? Can y'all work together? Is your ethic around work the same? Do you have similar ways that you communicate with each other, right? Can you communicate when things are light and easy, but can you also communicate when things are difficult? Meaning, do you have a problem-solving process in place? Can they be solution focused? Some folks, including our friends, are real good at just bringing forth problems, but when you ask for a solution, they don't have anything to say. That's cool on the social end, but on the professional end, you know, especially if you're working within a particular tech field, I need you to be able to come up with solutions. If you're my lawyer, I need you to come up and tell me how I'm supposed to handle this, right? Not just being light and kikiing about everything. Knowing the difference between, again, being friends and being business minded. So having times where you can separate the roles. I also have a lot of family members or friends that are on my leadership team, and I have to learn that too. There's a time to just be friends, but then let's set aside meeting time, because if we have structured meeting time, then maybe it helps with that role shift and that role distinction. And can they vibe with other people? You know, some of your family and friends don't work well with everybody. Don't put them on your team just because you're trying to put them on. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can be your lawyer, they can be your booking person, they could be your manager, but can they work with all of those people too? Because if they can't, you're going to end up having to do more fixing and more problem solving as opposed to the creative work that you were designed to do, right? So really looking at, how does this person interact with other teams? How does this person communicate with other people? How does this person communicate with me? Do we all have similar work styles? Because you're building something, you're constructing. And just like when you're constructing a house, you're very particular about the materials that you use and what you bring forth, because you want it to be stable, right? And you use that same kind of mindset when you're building your team too, so that it can be consistent and sustainable for the future.
I love that. That analogy right there just like summed up the way my brain needs to think about this process. So that was amazing. And it kind of funneled into one of the questions that I was going to ask around, like, do you have to do everything simultaneously? And a house isn't built, you know, simultaneously. So like there are, you know, ways that you can build your team the way that you want it in the time that you would like to build it in. So amazing. Thank you so much for that answer. So say I'm an artist who I found the friends that are perfect, the ones that can get along with others, are solution focused, but then I still have other places that I need to fill in those gaps. Do you all have any suggestions or tips and tricks on how to reach out to people? Because in the day and age where everything is social media, you know, people will reach out, cold call, like, hey, sending songs, I want you to be my whatever. Do you all have any tips and tricks on how people should reach out to you? Carolyn, I'll start with you for production, or, you know, any service that you have. How would you like people to actually, you know, reach out to you if they're interested in having you be a part of their team?
So as a mix engineer, I take the DMs because usually that means I get the impression that somebody has listened to my work and they have searched and they found my IG, and this is the only way that they can reach out to me. So I accept that. For performances, those are always, 9 times out of 10, those are always cold calls. But if I get that request, then I send that to Mashiva King, who does my booking. Or if there's a brand relationship, if some hair care company reaches out, hey, we're interested in having you, do some kind of promo for us. Okay, then I know that that's going to JP, who does my brand management. So I'm okay with the cold calling as long as it fits, the box that I need to put it in. If it doesn't fit my mold or my structure, then usually it's what we call in my house a TB&T, or thanks but no thanks.
I love that. Anyone else have any suggestions on how people should reach out?
I think that everyone's in their own place and space and time. So really all you can do is do your best and be polite and brief. I have a problem being brief. You know, it's best for me when someone just shoots an email and said, hey, you know, I've heard about you. This is what I'm about. I would love to be connected. Is there a good time for us to chat briefly? Here's my work. If you're interested, that'd be great. If not, I understand. You know, just very diplomatic and easy. That's always helpful. And a lot of these questions are actually answered in, are you guys reading or have you read that Ari Herstand book? Like it's about how to make it in the new music business. It's like practical tips. I hope I said his name right. Ari Herstand.
He's great.
I'm sorry?
I was just saying he's great.
Oh yeah, no, I was just starting. I've read like half the book and it's like all segmented out. It's very direct. It's like how you do this, and touring, booking, this, that, the other, how you choose your team, yada, yada, yada. Of course, he takes liberty because he asserts his own opinions and such, which is good. But it's the most comprehensive. A DJ that I book, DJ Neil Paul, he sent it to me like last year and he's like, you got to listen to this book. And I'm like, oh man, another thing to do or whatever. And so I finally got around to it because I had read all the old, you know, like the lawyers, the Bob Passman, God bless everybody. But it's like, those are like the old guard books. And there's so much technology and so much different things. So many different things have happened since then. So when I got a hold of this, I'm not done. But anyone who hasn't read it, I would definitely take a peek. Of course, there's going to be some things that do and don't align with you like anywhere else. But I think, all right, it's called How to Make It in the New Music Business. Ari, and there's a tagline underneath, Ari Herstand, A-R-I, someone just asked that, space, because I'm writing it in my head, Herstand. Yes, thank you.
And no worries, we'll send out links to the resources that everybody's dropping in their gym concoctions. So please don't worry, we'll send it in a post email as well. So y'all will have all the links to all these amazing resources.
I'll jump in from the lawyer end. So when you're reaching out to lawyers, it's a little bit different. Don't text, don't DM, it's not as casual of a interaction. Even though, of course, you know, lawyers are fun and friendly and everything too, but you know, it's just a different kind of way of doing business, I guess. So it's much, if you are looking to hire a lawyer, either call their office or email them, be prepared as to what you want to talk about. I mean, a lot of people will call and just leave messages like, hey, this is so-and-so, call me back. And it's like, what do you even want? So, I mean, don't approach it like that. I mean, lawyers, they're usually very busy. Their time is very scheduled, and they want to know why you're calling, if they can help you. So do, you know, I would say do that and just kind of like take the time to prep ahead of time. Also, don't just like send out your music, don't attach MP3s to emails. It's most people at companies or law firms do not accept unsolicited material. They won't shop you a lot of times. If it's, I mean, maybe managers will, most lawyers won't shop you. I mean, I have it explicitly on my website. I don't shop. Please don't email me for shopping. If you do, you won't get a response. And I get emails every day for shopping. So it's like, read the instructions. But yeah, I mean, it's just, if you want to get noticed and you want to add somebody on your team, approach it from the most professional stance that you can, and tailor your approach to what type of professional you're reaching out to. And if you're reaching out to a specific person because you heard about, oh, like so-and-so told me that person's really great to work with, or, you know, however you found out about them and you thought this is a particular person that I'd be interested in working with, you know, take a few minutes to actually know something about them. So, because like I'll get people email me, well, can you tell me about what you do? Well, it's all on my website. So just, you know, take that extra 5 minutes to do your research and, you know, approach it in a more prepared manner.
I love that. It also shows your professionalism as well. Go ahead, Esther.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add to what Erin was stating, because that was definitely a thought that I had initially, was making sure that you really know a little bit about the person that you're reaching out to. And that, again, like these are people that's going to be a part of your team. They're going to be part of your business, or they're your partners. So it's really important to understand, like, am I a good fit for them? Are they a good fit for me? Specifically for my company, I work with more conscious artists, so more message driven artists. So if you don't know that about me, and you're an artist that doesn't necessarily fall into that style of music, then it's probably not going to be a good fit, you know? And so I think that that's really important to know when you're talking about agents, you're talking about attorneys, you're talking about producers, like, what are they doing that kind of aligns with your style of music, even the trajectory of your career. Are they already in, you know, exposed networks that's going to allow you to kind of walk into certain doors that you don't have access to? All of those are important as well. But really making sure that you know something about the person that you're reaching out to, like Erin was saying, is very important. Sending an email and making sure that it's professional is key.
And for you, Esther, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jenny.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to add to that as well, because as artists, we have to find producers. For live performances, we need band and background singers and things like that. Just making sure that these people can actually do what you need them to do. Being upfront and being able to answer every question that they may have coming back at you. I know for me, when I reach out for shows and I need, you know, background singers and band members, it's, you know, can you do this amount of rehearsal time? Can you be here for this sound check? Can you do, like, you have to be very specific with people, because if you just reach out to them and it's just like, hey, can you come sing with me? They're going to say yes. But at the same time, what if they can't do every rehearsal? What if they can't, you know, fully give you what you need as that artist for that, you know, certain thing that you have, gig or performance or whatever. So just making sure that you have every answer for the person that you're reaching out to as well. Because I do get a lot of questions when I do reach out to people. Luckily, I found, you know, people who I can trust to really, you know, give me what I need as far as that. But definitely when you reach out to, because I have a hard time with this still, I'm still trying to figure out how to reach out to people on social media. If I see like a graphic designer or somebody who's doing like promo or things like that, I'm still trying to find my way in that area, because I'm not that person who can just reach out. I actually just need to find someone who can do that part for me, because I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. But being friendly, for starters, making sure that your message is clear and concise when you're reaching out to people. And it can get overwhelming when you're sending links to all of these different songs and stuff, like as Erin was saying, you know, sending a bunch of files can be very overwhelming, because even as an artist, I get that from producers. You know, they're constantly sending me music every day on social media, or even sometimes I get it through my phone, and it's just like, whoa, wait a second. And then you listen to certain music and it's like, that's not even what, you know, I asked for, or that's not even the type of artist I am. So, you know, when you reach out to people, make sure that, like I said, they're, you know, they can do what you need them to do. The producers, make sure that they, you know, they make the type of music you need, and things like that. So just making sure you know what you want, and making sure you can answer questions when people have questions for you.
Totally. Yeah, go ahead, Julie.
Also, when you reach out to someone, it's, first of all, I think it's great to reach out, because collaboration is one of the beautiful things about creative music. And my door is usually wide open until it's not. But make sure when you reach out to somebody, don't just reach out to use the person's skill set, experience, and talent. Just have clear understanding of what your contribution will be, what you can offer, because it's a collaboration. It's not using one another. So make sure to state what you're offering also.
I love that. Everybody's shaking their head like, yes, yes, yes. Definitely super, super important to make sure that it's a balance, because no one wants to feel like they're continuously pouring out and not receiving as well. And collaborations are just even more fun. So totally love that. As we think about, you know, where we're at right now, the world has changed for everybody. What are some differences that you've seen in some of the requests that you've gotten in your particular field? So as artists, what are some of those things that that you're looking for now in a team that you weren't looking for previously? And for those who are, you know, lawyers or mixers, what are some of those requests that you're getting now that everybody's kind of sheltering in place?
So for me, well, for starters, I actually didn't even know exactly what I needed as an artist when I first started off. And there are still things that I'm, you know, coming to find out that I need as an artist. Even this panel alone, just even though I'm a panelist, just listening to everyone else, I'm learning so much. Um, the business standpoint, legally with lawyers and things like that, those are still things that are underway for me. Um, on a team, I did see somebody ask the question, like, what are the team members that you need, specific names and team members that you need. So far, I really have people who are playing dual roles. So, you know, I have a team of producers who are also helping me write. Then there are people who are kind of giving me advice when it comes to marketing and branding and, you know, kind of creating that face or that identity for my social media. So social media representatives, people who can keep your social media active. That's another thing that I'm learning. The more you're active, you know, the bigger the algorithm as far as engagement and things like that. All of those things are very important. And then just having those people, I've had a lot of people message me or DM me like, hey, can I help? And it's like, okay, well, what can you help with? So just, you know, some people just really don't know. They don't know what it is that you need, or they don't know what an artist needs, period. But like I said, I'm still just even learning legally. You know, I do need a lawyer, you know, for legal, you know, reasons. I get contracts all the time, even, and I've learned how to read those contracts for myself as well, which is very important for any artist, understanding it for yourself as well. Doing shows, you know, having agreements, you know, for gigs and things like that. Or, you know, as far as we're doing a lot of things virtually now. So, you know, using your image and likeness and things like that, all of those things are very important. So I just wanted to say that you guys are teaching me a lot. I am learning just from being on this panel as an artist, the things that I need to make sure everything is A1. So yeah.
Thank you, even for your
I'm learning as well.
for your contribution.
So the question was, what are we seeing new right now? So from the booking side, I'm definitely seeing more virtual requests for my clients, obviously. So what I would absolutely recommend to any artist is really making sure that you have a solid setup at home, because if you're just depending on the live music performance right now, obviously that's, who knows what that's going to look like in the next 6 months. And so really making sure that you have a solid digital setup at home, that you can stream shows, that you'll still be able to get booked, because a lot of events are going virtual right now. So that's really important. That was one thing. And then just to kind of piggyback on what the team members that are pretty much essential, I honestly think that kind of depends on where you are in your career. Even as an agent, you may not necessarily need an agent right now because you're not at the place where you're getting bookings already coming in. And that's almost a prerequisite when I work with clients, is like, what are you already bringing in right now? Because if you don't necessarily have bookings on your schedule, or you don't have a lot of things that are already opportunities that are flowing, then it's going to take a little bit longer to, you know, get you at a certain minimum of bookings per month. So that's for me. And then also even in a management space, because when I started my company, I started off as a manager and I transitioned over to an agent because that was what my clients were needing mostly, was bookings. But even from a management standpoint, do you have something to manage? That's the question, right? As an artist, ask yourself that. First of all, do I feel overwhelmed in what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, where I feel like I need to pull someone in to help me in that space? Then that's an identifier that, yes, I need to start building my team. But it's a lot of artists that can do it themselves for a while until they get to a point where they feel like, okay, this is too much for me to manage. Now I need to bring in a manager. And the manager, from my experience, is the one that kind of helps build out your team. So they come in and say, okay, so I see what you're doing, where you're trying to go. This is where our short and long-term goals are. Let's pull in the attorney. Let's pull in the agent. Let's pull in the mental health clinician because we need this. Like these are like all of the components that normally a manager, depending again on where you are in your career, will be able to say is already a part of their network. So let's start kind of building a solid team for you so that we can take you to your next level as an artist. But again, you may not be at that place yet. So I feel like if you don't necessarily have anything to manage, a lot of artists come to managers and agents wanting to create their careers, and that's just not how it works. Like you kind of have to have some foundation under yourself first, so that when we come in as a team, we have something to work with. If you're not releasing content, don't expect to get booked. If you're not releasing music, if no one knows you, if you don't have a solid social media following, it's hard to catapult someone like that when they really don't have that foundation that we talked about earlier in their career. So I believe that those parts are absolutely necessary before you even start building your team.
I love that reflection.
With what Esther said a second ago, I thought that was amazing too, because when you have already tried to do some things yourself, you have a greater appreciation for your team members, right? Like if you have already tried to do some of the bookings and you've already tried to get out there, when your team member is telling you like, this is one of the obstacles, you have a different level of relatability to it. And therefore you have a different patience level, a different expectation, and a different way to have a conversation, a creative conversation around it, where it's not like you're just putting everything on your team member and making them figure it out. Like I mentioned before, that solution focus is so important. And if you've already had some experience, even if it hasn't been high-end experience or well-trained experience, if you have some level of experience, it allows for greater collaboration with your team member, as opposed to just expecting them to direct the path that you're going on. Pertaining to your question, Kristen, mental health folks have not historically been part of artist teams. That's something that we're seeing a lot more, where people are being a lot more transparent and vulnerable around their mental health challenges, whether it's diagnosable challenges or whether it's just adjustment into coming into the industry or adjustment in how fans respond to you, right? Because artists become public figures and can be highly praised, but also highly critiqued. And if one is not well-versed in that or don't have experience in that, then it could really cause them to experience anxiety and depression and all sorts of traumatic experiences like acute stress disorder and things like that. But what I am starting to see now is that more artists are inviting mental health folks to be a part of their team, to be in their circle, either as direct clinicians for the artist and the team, or as consultants. And so that's making me extremely happy, because artists are people first, right? And so also affected by the things, the world that's around them. So from our end, again, we're seeing more people inviting us into the spaces, and we are very excited to be able to support the artists that are doing all the work and being creative and helping heal others and support others through the music that they're creating as well.
Wish I had you in the past, Doctor.
Heidi, I'm right here, girl. We were right here together.
Yes, and just quickly, what Esther said about social following, just very fast. Please don't buy people. Please build organic followings, because when someone's putting together a bill on a show, and they're looking for organic draw, or they're looking for this, that, and the other, of course they'll be able to discern based on, you have 30,000 followers, but 53 likes and 3 comments like on every other photo, and it's just disingenuous. It's lying. It's straight up lying. The first thing you say to someone is a lie, period. So like when I see that, I think this person is a liar. Now, we all tell our own white lies in our lives to ourselves and other people and this, that, and the other. But if their image and their presence is based on, hey, I have this amount of following and it's completely inaccurate, then that really tells me a lot about someone's integrity and their character. So please, do what you have to do. You can purchase, sponsored ads, this, that, and the other, to try to generate like genuine interest. Whereas, people may start to follow the page or this on Facebook or Instagram and such. But purchasing the bots and stuff, I know IG right now does a lot of work in trying to knock that out. but there's still a bunch of artists that are pretending, you know, and even local ones. And I have a list. I mean, I'm just like, let's get over here. But anyway, yeah. So I'm just saying, like, social following is very important, but the authenticity of it is the most important part.
Amazing.
And if my
Jim. Oh, yep, go ahead.
Yeah. So adding to what Ethel said and Dr. Linnell said, the timing of getting manager is really crucial. And I was an artist 10 years ago. I'm like, I gotta have a manager today. I need it now without having anything to be managed. And thankfully I couldn't find any, but because of that, I was able to spend my time to really hone in who I am as an artist, what is my brand, what's my mission, what's my message, and then just naturally attracted manager who believes in what I'm trying to bring to the world. And also, speaking of the mental health, I got a few hate messages earlier pandemics, but it didn't really affect me so much because, again, the time I was able to spend to hone in who I am as an artist. So whatever people say about me, I'm like, but you don't know me and that's not me. So goodbye. Thank you very much. So I think it's really important to build your artistry first before thinking management, and our producer, or the other team members. You have to have the strong core presence, I think.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We are at the top of the hour. It's so much meaty information, so many gems you guys are dropping. Thank you so much. And thank you for being all stars in this Q&A, like answering the questions on the back end. Truly appreciate that insight. Yeah, this was amazing. It kind of all boils down to making sure that you have a product that you believe in first and foremost, and that you're able to recognize what it is that you need in other folks before you invite them onto your team. We put in the chat or in the Q&A that, you know, networking is a great way to find people, follow hashtags, you know, Google, talking to other people, befriending and communicating with other artists. Like, definitely use your community to figure out, you know, who you want on your team. Thank you all again. I will send out an email to help you all connect with all of the amazing panelists that we have on today, as well as to follow up with the resources that they gave in this in session. So thank you again so much, Esther, Jury, Dr. Linnell Plummer, Carolyn, Heidi, Erin, and Janice. Thank you so much. I couldn't be more stoked for all of this information. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to check out all the other in sessions. We have tons of information on here that you guys can watch over and over and over again. This recording will be available for you to watch again and again as well. And we will see you in 2 weeks on Thursday at 1 p.m. Thank you so much.
Thank you.